Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to True Story, greatest podcast in the world. And you know who this is, baby. It's the truth, the dad bod god, the bald, the beard, and the fucking beautiful Piers Austin. And tonight we got a special one for you guys. We got the one, the only, the Bachelor. It is his dream to make your girl cream. And we're going to be getting into it tonight. But before we get into that, I got to tell you guys about our new sponsor, which is Jericho Australia. Now, Jericho Australia is the best supplier of beard products in the world. Head over to jerichoaustralia.com. Use promo code TRUESTORY and get 15% off every order, every time using that promo code. So go and check him out. But, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everyone everywhere, we are going to get into it right fucking now. Break it down like this. And I was like, really? Like, baby face? And the heels were going on. Dude, I thought he broke his neck. The greatest podcast in the world. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to True Story, greatest podcast in the world. And I am here with one of my favorite people in the entire world. And yes, I say that about every guest I have on, but this time I actually mean it. The one, the only Bachelor. What's going on, my man?
Not much, mate. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm excited, bro. This has been a long time in the making, bro.
Has been a very long time. No, I've been excited. The anticipation has been building.
Oh man. Well, dude, like I've known you like and sort of been on shows with you for like a couple of years now. And it's like we always have great conversations whenever we're hanging out. And it's just like, dude, like, yeah, why has this conversation not been recorded before? I don't know. But man, you're here now. I'm excited to have you on, brother. Really am.
No, thank you for having me. No, love the show. Love watching every interview. And no, it's just been a very exciting year, I guess, for not only myself but rock and roll. So the stars have aligned, my friend, and it's it's time to get into it. Have a bit of fun.
100%, man. Rock and roll, bro. I feel like every time we do our Thursday show, like we always talk about and we're putting over rock and roll of just how much of a good promotion it is. Like I know me and Akel have spoken about a bunch, and it really is, man. Like it's such a like, you know, I did my first rock and roll show, just the previous month in February. And it was fantastic, man. Like just getting there, like it was just warm, welcoming, fun. It's such a great vibe going to rock and roll.
Look, it's rock and roll, I guess it's always been the little engine that just keeps going in the background. Like you got your big promotions and like even when I first started back in 2014, it's when I first met Luke or Hunter Piers Hayes.
Hunter.
My first show ever, we turned up. I was like only in the school for maybe 2 weeks, and he's like, "Yeah, we're only expecting about 400 tonight." And I'm like, "Okay, that's a good crowd, no worries." And for a long time, at least maybe a year or two, I didn't watch any other Australian wrestling at all. Only if Luke used to drag me along and I would sell his merch. PWA and Newey. Yeah. And but they drew well as well as we were. So I immediately assumed that that's what Australian wrestling was, the mid 300 to 400s. And then, lo and behold, I get out into the big bright world and I'm like, wow, we're actually doing a really good job down here. And the funny thing is no one really knows us. And there's people even when you walk down the street in Wollongong and, we're handing out flyers or advertising our shows, they're like, wow, professional wrestling, like didn't know that was in Wollongong. And it's like, it's one of those, it's one of those funny things.
Well, I feel like, you guys and Newey Pro both have a great product in an outside of like a major city market. And yeah. I mean, like the same thing, like when, like at was the City Hall show that me and Nathan, Vinny Vane did, sorry, that drew like 350, 400 or something like, and then, the rock and roll show, it was very similar type of numbers as well. And it's just great to see that like these two almost like, would you say regional almost to a certain degree can actually draw those sort of numbers.
No, it's unreal. It really is. And credit to Newey. I haven't been up to one of those City Hall shows. I have been into the City Hall, and that venue is beautiful. So they've, done very well with that. Same as Luke down here. It's just years of building up a reputation and finding a venue that would suit what we're trying to accomplish, and not going necessarily over the top. Like, we've had a couple of shows in the big basketball arena down here with internationals, and we even went down to as far as Nara twice without an international, and we've drawn close to 1,000.
Jeez.
So it's one of those.
Without an international.
Without an international, yeah. So that was an amazing experience. But it's all about connections, man. And I think I'm very blessed to have Luke, as a mentor and a friend, and sort of taken me under his wing to help promote the shows now that he's stepped back a bit and, focusing on his other job. So yeah, it's one of those. It's amazing just being able to sort of be next to him and sort of learn the ins and outs and what to do and what not to do. And mostly it all comes down to making connections with people and community. And that's what we've done up there in Wollongong. That's what they've done up there in Newcastle and, everywhere. MCW, I've been starting watching them, and they're selling out every show. And it's not, yes, it is in a major city. I'm pretty sure the venue's a little bit out of the city as well. So they've obviously made those connections down there. And
100%. And I think that's where it comes down. It's like you have to be able to draw the fans in. And I've spoken about this before on the podcast with other people of, what do you like the average casual wrestling fan? Are they going to be able to sit there and watch a amazing chain wrestling Kurt Angle style match for 20 minutes and be like, yeah, this is great? Or are they going to be wanting to see some what I mean? It depends on the performance doing if they can captivate them. But for the most casual audience, they want to see something that's going to be quick, 5 minutes, what I mean? Like that 5 to 10 minute thing of quick digestible content.
Yeah, no, 100%. Well, the one thing that we always value and promote, I guess, in our shows is we're always family-friendly entertainment, a quality time. You're not going to get spat on. You're not going to have abuse chucked at you by the heels. It's going to be, we're going to have a bit of fun. Heels are going to be heels, and we're going to have a bit of banter with our crowd. But at no point, is it ever going to cross that line. And we really pride ourselves on interacting with fans. Like, even went from an academy level, Luke and now myself, we try to always ensure that the people coming through the academy and the wrestlers know, yes, you can be, as you said, you can be like a Kurt Angle style wrestler. You can be, the best of the best and whatever. But if you just ignore what's going on out there, then at the end of the day, no one's going to remember you. They're going to remember the person that, came out and gave them the rose, or they're going to remember the person that came out and, had the flannel vest on, and he's getting all the kids to have their tools down, the hammers, and even Dicko with the flannel. And, I remember Dicko, it's just just making those connections, is very important, and it brings people back too, man. It really does. I've got, I guess, friends that I've grown through first as a promoter, going out into the community and meeting people and going to businesses. Hey, this is what I do. This, I'd love to, it usually starts with, can I buy something at your store? Come to our show. I'll just put a poster up. Yeah. And you just keep building those sort of little friendships. Eventually, now when we go to the diggers, our tables sell out straight away with corporate tables, just because people are like, oh, Connor's wrestling, or this person's wrestling, and I'm going to go support them because we've
known them for 10 years.
We're a friend, and and I'm not saying we're not. No, I've made a bunch of connections and very, very good people. But that's it. That's how you draw. That's how you get the crowd to engage with you a lot stronger, because they're like, "Wow, I can connect with him. I know him."
Yeah.
And it just keeps bringing us back business, and I guess vice versa to them, because we get our wrestlers to go out as well, because they're pretty much all local. And I'm like, hey, let's go down to the local cafe where such and such runs and owns, and let's have a coffee there. And we bring in business, and then it's just.
Well, you're working within the community, bro. Like you know what I mean. Like instead of going down to, like, you can easily just go down to a McDonald's and get a $5 like drive-through latte, bro. Or you could go, you know what I mean, like 2 minutes extra down the road, pay like maybe I don't know, same amount of money, or maybe 50 cents to $1 more, and support a local business who will come and support you as well. So
No, it's good, and you know what? It's a lot more fun that way, and it's a lot more rewarding. I the most recent show, we were sitting quite scarce for ticket sales. So myself and Luke, in the final, I think the final day or 2 days before the show, we're like, this isn't cutting it. We haven't hit our 200 mark yet.
yeah,
And we're really annoyed with ourselves. So that entire day, we just ran around to cafes. I think I had like 5 or 6 coffees. I was about to shit myself. Went to coffees shops. I went to like news agencies. I went everywhere. My supplement shops, and she's got 3 or 4 branches around the Illawarra. Some down near like Kiama and Berry down that way. I drove everywhere that day, and the reward for it, I think I sold over 50 tickets in that one day for the show. And by the end of it, I looked around, in the crowd, and I was like, and now those 50 people, the goal is to retain them for the next show, but they're already keen on our next show in Wollongong, which will be in June. So there you go. That's what it's all about.
Oh, 100%, man. And that's the thing, like when you were talking about, having, Hunter as a mentor, like I can't praise him enough. And this is before I was working for Rock and Roll. Like, I mean, like when I interviewed him on the podcast and had him on, like, it was just, I could see I was getting a genuine person. And then, I mean, like I felt it was genuine. And if it isn't genuine, then bro, he's got to be the ultimate carny, because he fucking fooled me. Right. Like 100%. And I've always said, like, if the world, not just the wrestling world, but the world would be a better place with more Hunter Hayes in it.
Yeah. No, you're definitely spot on with that. Funny, my relationship with Hunter, I'm very fortunate that it stems beyond wrestling.
Yeah.
And I think that's a rarity, especially in the wrestling business. You don't have a lot of friends. You think you do, but you don't. And that's why they call it a business, and that's the way you should treat it as well.
You could definitely see the friendship and bond that you two have. And like when I was at the show, like, Hunter's daughter was in the ring, just like running around or whatever. And he's like, come on, we gotta go. And he's like, all right, well, I'm going. She's like, oh, it's all right, Connor's here, he'll look after me. And I'm just like to me, I was just like, man, that is some cool, like, that's something my daughter would say about, like Vinny, you know what I mean? Like, because of that. And I'm like, that's a cool friendship to have, man, that his kid could sit there and go, yeah, all right, see you, he's here, I'll be all sweet.
Yeah, no, she's the best. No, it's good. Like, honestly, he's turned from, first an authority figure in wrestling to friend to mentor to employer. Because I started, well, when he started his company, I was his first employee, and I've been there ever since. And it's just we're just riding this crazy wave of life together, and I couldn't think of a better person to do it with. And yeah, it baffles me how kind someone can be, without like wanting anything in return. Like, so it's just crazy. And some of the stories, like, people will probably never know. The stories that people do know, it's like yeah, the guy is like, not to put him up on a pedestal.
I feel like this is either the podcast where people are here to either bury someone, put over Hunter Hayes, or put over Birdman, or bury Birdman.
I could bury Hunter if you want, but it just a little bit of false truths. But No, he's unreal, man, and yeah. I just think I was just lucky enough to, because obviously he's retired now, and I didn't really get much time in the ring with him, but the times that I did, I'm fortunate. But it is what it is, and look forward to the next chapter of rock and roll and whatever he wants to do with it. And yeah, but it seems to be going all uphill at the moment, so which is a positive for everyone, really.
Yeah, dude, 100%, man. And just hearing and working with you guys and that last show and seeing things and doing all the promos that we recorded for that show, it was just like everyone was cool. But the one guy who I reckon the standout is out there.
Can I guess?
Yeah, go.
Are you going to say Dicko?
Fucking oath. Fuck. Like, yeah, bro. Like, because I said to I don't want to use like shoot names, so I'm going to say the guy who was filming the promos, and
Right.
I said, hey, I've got an idea. Can we film something with Dicko? And I go, it could be good or it could be just whatever.
Yeah,
And he's like, yeah. And I told Dicko, we filmed it once. I said, nah, get more like really invade my private space. And he's like, okay. And then he just came straight up, and I was like, he actually legitimately scared the shit out of me. But he is so fucking funny, dude. Like, just so entertaining.
I think he epitomizes what rock and roll, and I guess what we try to put into everyone's heads about just hard work and perseverance. And it's paid off for him in dividends, man. Like I won't go into some of his history because of like obviously like privacy for him. Like
Of course.
he'll probably jump on eventually and talk to you about it. But when he came to us, he was a very plump, very uncoordinated young man, and I'll be honest, everyone said this guy probably won't last, the academy, because it's like our academy is very intense, and we don't usually take on everyone. We're always very polite about it, but if it's not right for everyone, it's not right for everyone. But he just kept coming back. He persevered, and he is in incredible shape right now. And I've been every time I get booked somewhere, I am trying to drag him along with me. So now that he's up at go, I said to B ages ago, I said, I said, Dicko should come up here. I plug all the rock and roll guys.
Of course, man. They're your crew. That's your crew.
And sure enough, the bastard beat me in a battle royal last weekend. So that's the way it is. But no, I've got so much love for Sam. He's a wonderful person outside of wrestling as well. Got nothing bad to say about any of the rock and roll crew, really. As you said, they're just.
But that's one thing I've noticed, and I said it, and people are going to say, "Hey, again, he's putting over the rock and roll crew again." But it's like I noticed it when you guys would turn up for other shows, for other promotions, and I mean, every single, like, there was not one of you that was like disrespectful or like had bad etiquette or was just all a pleasure to be around and just pleasant human beings, right?
Yeah, the touring rock and roll ring crew, as I like it. We're always there early, and we don't leave until after everyone else leaves. So it's
and you're the guys driving the furthest.
Another thing, credit to Hunter. It's just the way that he trained us. If even regardless if we were on a show or not, you were to be there at 12 o'clock to load the ring on. Yeah, to be there to put the ring up. If you want to go home, if you need something to do, that's fine. But the show starts at 7. The call's at 5:30, and it's the same with everything, man. And even now, with like Moses being our champion, he is still the first one to turn up, and he's still the last one to leave, and he is carrying that team, to new heights. And it's just, I think everyone that's gone through our system. I'll be very surprised if one day I hear a bad, word said about anyone.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think it's the standard that you guys set, man, and it's like like even I think like someone's told me, man, that like they seen like something like it was like a little bit of banter. It made her get carried away, and it was like someone said it was either you or Hunter or something. Oi, we don't do that shit here. And it
Yeah,
was like, and then straight away it was like, oh, yep, sorry, dear. Oh, okay, cool. And then it was like back to it was a thing, but it was like as soon as that banter went to a little bit that sort of level, it was like, hey,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
we're putting water on that real quick. And I'm like, man, that's smart thinking because that's the shit that sort of can start and then lead to bigger problems later on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, definitely wouldn't have been me because I'm too nervous. I'm still young. I'm still too young.
You're a
Too,
young boy, huh?
too green, too green. So no, no. Look, man, we've created an incredible environment, and it's an environment that not many people know about. Like as I said, we're in our own little world in Wollongong, and traveling up to Campbelltown's probably the furthest we're wanting to reach. But yeah, we just got the Illawarra down here, and we have a really good solid crew. We're hoping to bring newer faces in. Last year when I took over a bit more of the promoting side and booking, I got a lot of really good talent that I thought would work well with our shows like Tuckman, Kingsley. Jimbro is a phenomenal person as
Yeah,
well.
I love Jesse.
Frankie B, Spencer, who was a former rock and roll champ, but I wanted to bring him back, and just people that I like. I don't know why, but when I watched them on YouTube, I was watching their characters, and then I'm like, man, they're like they seem like really decent people, and I think that I guess I'm really good at looking at I guess beyond the character.
Yeah.
And 10 out of 10, every person that we brought down have just they're so professional, they're etiquette, they're polite. If you want them to be there early, they will be. And look, I personally, I've enjoyed bringing people down and showing them what we're doing because they have no idea that sort of we exist in a way because
Yeah.
we're very quiet crew, and we don't obviously do as much production as we probably should be. But for them to be like, oh, just another show, blah blah blah, and after they come behind the curtain, every single one of them was blown away by how loud our crowds are. We're blown away by like the reception they got both backstage and from the
Mm.
audience. Even yourself, when you were telling me about it, you're like, "Whoa, that was just a cool experience." And I'm like, I love hearing those stories because, yeah, it just means that we're doing the right thing and we're bringing the right people down. And it's essentially it's going to continue to work, and hopefully grow even more.
Well, the funny thing is, I remember when Hunter and you guys wanted to bring me down. He's like, and he's like, yeah, I want to bring you in as a baby face, and I'm like, everywhere else I appear, I'm a fucking heel, and I'm a loud, opinionated podcaster as well. I go, I don't know if I think that's gonna shit, and fair enough. He's like, trust me, and I went, okay. And he went out there and like he laid the groundwork. And then as soon as I came out, it was like, and I'm like sitting there going, well, fuck me. Like he was right. I was like a made guy in Wollongong that night. And it was just like, damn, bro.
And it doesn't take much. It really doesn't. I guess it's sometimes I guess it's hard for us as rock and roll wrestlers to go to other places and get that connection with audiences. Sometimes because we get it so easy down here, and that's built off 20 years of Luke, working to
Mm.
build that audience and to get that reputation. And by the time the first bell rings, it doesn't matter if you're a brand new character or person on the show, you will get that reception. And I think we're very blessed to have that. But yeah, as I said, sometimes it's hard to sort of reflect and look back and be like, I can come out sometimes and I forget to bring my rose or forget to do anything, and I go out there and I'm just generic baby face for the night. I'm like, hey, let's go Wollongong, and they go nuts. And then it's funny, but yeah, always fantastic times with rock and roll. Can't recommend them more.
100%. How'd you come up with the Bachelor gimmick? I've never asked you that, that was because I never have predetermined questions or any of that shit for any podcast, but that is the one I wanted to ask you. Is out of all the conversations we've had, I never asked the origin of the gimmick.
I didn't come up with it. No, it was Luke's wife. I think what happened was back in the day, I used to do a little bit of like modeling back in my darker years.
Hey, I'm gonna go do some investigating.
Please don't.
I'm gonna find it.
But no, I think one day, and I think she was just a fan of the show, and she turned to Luke one day when I was just about to pass all my drills, and she was like, I think Connor would be a really good bachelor. And I thought about it, and I was like, well, I was the announcer for so long, and people would recognize me from the show. So when I first started, I was just the announcer, and I came out in a suit, and I wrestled a couple of times in a suit. And then eventually I started getting rid of the suit, and I just started morphing into the Bachelor. One day I came out with the rose, and they're like, oh, I guess he's the Bachelor now. And I'm like, so that's how it all began. And yeah, so technically I've never come up with a gimmick, even though I've come up for gimmicks for basically everyone on the show. So.
Have you ever gotten into fights with dudes, like after you've given like a chick a rose and it's been like, the boyfriend steps up and is like, hey, what's up, pretty boy?
No, usually the boyfriends are like, oh, why didn't I get it? And I'm just like, oh, don't know.
What the fuck is with millennials, bro?
Oh, what is with fans now? Look, I've never had any issues thus far. Look, the only thing I do is when I'm a heel, I usually just pull the rose away from kids, like or fans, and like, who wants the rose? No, you're too ugly. You don't deserve the rose. Blah blah blah. No one's here worthy of my rose. I remember this one time I did it in front of this little girl. So this is why I wouldn't be a good heel. I broke the rose in front of her and I threw it at her. Just in front of her. She starts bawling her eyes out. And I'm like, oh, fuck. So, and then anyways, halfway through the match, I'm still like I think it was a double down or something. And I've turned to the corner. This little girl's still crying. And I'm like, oh, I've done my job. Anyways, the match is over and I think I lost and I rolled out. And I ended up, I brought heaps of roses that night, like a whole, I think there was a florist down the road, so I bought a whole bouquet of them. Yeah. So I just grabbed them all, and when I saw they were filming whoever the babyface was, I think it was the Malaysian Tiger, whoever the babyface was walking up, and I've just given her the whole roses, and I'm like, I'm so sorry.
Oh man.
Can't do that again. And then
come on.
Can't do that again.
Too nice to be a heel, brother.
It was just funny. And then, hey, it paid off because later that night, I think the parents and her, and I think she had a couple of siblings, they all bought my T-shirts. And I'm like, what it's all about, mate. Making connections, making a bit of money.
So, have you ever had like any female fans like cross the line going, hey, Bachelor, like like, I mean, hey, check out my spicy link here, Bachelor. Here's a free password.
Yes, I'll just give them mine.
Hey,
no, nothing like that. Nothing like that. No, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, because I'm not really a bachelor, so maybe my partner wouldn't like that too much. But yeah, nothing overly spicy. The only time I guess I did have something was I can't even remember where I was. I was down the coast somewhere, and I went out after everything was packed up, and I went to get like a beer.
Yeah.
And these girls were like asking me to come over, and I'm like, oh, here we go. And they were like, oh, you looked really, really good tonight. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. And they're like, you're almost as hot as as these coffees we're drinking. And I was just like, baby, if I was that hot, your milk would be burnt. And
oh, damn.
Like, was like, ho, ho, ho. And then unfortunately my partner was there, so we had to go home. So, but that was
Hey.
but it was funny. But no, man, look, I've as far as reactions go to the character, I was a little bit nervous at first when it got pitched to me because I was like, I'm going to be seen not just in the ring but outside as this narcissistic, egotistical, like who the fuck would call themselves the Bachelor? Do you know what I mean? Like, he must be a real knob junkie or someone like that. But no, man, it's been all but love, and I'm just having a lot of fun playing it, to be honest. And
Dude, I fucking popped when I first saw the gimmick. Like, I think like the first time I saw your gimmick, I was doing commentary on FWA, and I had the run sheet, and I've seen The Bachelor, and then I've seen like I mean, you've got your gear on or something like that. Like, not even that. I've just seen you walking around, and I'm like seeing the hair and the face, and I'm like, that's got to be the straight away. I was like, picked you for the gimmick. You weren't even in gimmick at all. You were just like in shorts and a t-shirt. Where like that, I'm like, yeah, that's got to be the Bachelor.
got to be him.
That's got to be him. He looks like a guy on the show.
A guy that would call himself that. No.
Oh,
Yeah, man. It's a lot of fun. It really is. And now that I'm sort of getting a bit more, I guess, aesthetically, I feel great, and I've just dropped about 10 kilos. So when I first started the character, I was pretty heavy, but now I'm sort of getting the body that I want for it. And who knows? I just there's so many things that I thought about doing with it, and I want to try out. So it's gonna be a fun year for it, and just watch it.
You had like I think I spoke to you at the last show. I was like, man, you've lost so much weight, like ridiculous, and you've lost even more now. You can see it now.
Yeah, I was a big boy. I was the heaviest I ever got was 122, and that was in probably like the start of last year. And I was like, shit, I really need to get on top of this. And I wasn't feeling heavy at all. That was the problem. Because I still trained and I was still doing my thing. I just obviously wasn't eating properly and doing other things.
Happens.
Yeah, so I was just like
busy lifestyle, bro. Busy lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I work 6 days a week. And we do
shift. Get those foods when you can.
It's one of those things, and now I just said no. I've got to finally pull my finger out and do something about it. So yeah, I've dropped from the 122. It's close to 14 kilos now. So that's pretty cool. And just going to keep plugging away and keep doing what I'm doing. And look, man, I'm just it's exciting times. It really is,
dude. It's it's great to see when you start to see the changes that diet makes. Like it's funny because I was talking to someone today and I said I weigh the same amount that my walk around weight was at when I was training to fight. Yeah, and it's like I now train less than I've ever trained before, eat worse than I've ever eaten in my entire life. And I'm just like, how, like, but it's like, I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get how I've actually been able to, and probably the last couple of years, like I went heavy, then I've lost a bunch of weight. And then it just like, now I'm at where I was training. And I was like, I train maybe once or twice a week.
Oh man, the perfect balance. Bloody, who was it? There's a few people in the wrestling school like that. Dicko can eat like crap for forever, and he'll still look like $1 million. So he's got that on me. Moses is probably the biggest change of all. He was a very big boy back in the day, but he's turned himself around incredibly, and he looks $1 million. So I expect big things from him this year and beyond too. He's just really stepped it up a notch. So
he gets a lot of heat, bro. Like he really does, man.
Man, yeah,
you can definitely hear it.
I think the good thing about him is I like watching every time we have a show on. He comes out to introduce the show. He cuts his promo, and those promos go for like 15 minutes, but the entire time it's just rains of booze, and no one's letting him, get to that microphone. and it's just he can play off the audience so well. To it, and it just gets the crowd riled up. And by the time the first matches, started, everyone's still muttering like, "Oh, that fucking Moses, he's coming out at the main event. I'm going to make sure I'm going to give him some." So it works, man. He takes his time, and it's what I say to say to a lot of guys when we do even promo work and that. And Keaton comes in to assist with that sometimes at the academy. It's just all about picking your moments, taking your time with it. And then some days there's going to be a crowd that's deadbeat, and you just got to go. You just got to go with it. And then there's other days where the crowd will be doing everything to you. The what chant, everyone loves the what chant when that pops up. So,
dude, I got a Taz chant.
I got Taz, yeah. You do look like.
I've had that happen a couple of times at a couple of shows, eh? and it's like, yeah, it's funny when you get that, and I'm like, oh, really? And then the rock and roll show is like, fucking Taz is here, man. Yeah, he's a GM, bro.
Even in Wollongong, they know.
Yeah,
that's brilliant. Yeah, no. Yeah, look, man, he's done well. Everyone, like even Otis has done well. He's looking leaner and fitter than ever.
I think Otis is probably one of the most underrated guys in New South Wales.
He's it's so funny because when him, Keaton, and I trained together, and then I left. I started with them, and then I left to go to Albury, and I studied in Albury for a couple of years. So I was going back and forth there between shows and helping out.
Yeah.
When I got back to work with Luke, was like insanely jacked, like as he is now.
Yeah.
And he just was switched on. And I think the return show when I came back was him versus Bob Holly. And I'm like, fuck, like this guy's, he's the champ. He had Wayne Pigford as his manager. Like everything, the stars just aligned for him. And the same thing that's happening to Moses now was happening to him. Like he would just go out into the audience and there was just a rain of boos. Like people genuinely hated him. Jeez. And I'm pretty sure outside of the ring there are a few incidences too, which with fans heckling him and stuff. But it's all for the love of it, I guess. But yeah, no, I 100% agree with you, mate. He is one of those guys that is like, wow, he could and will be somewhere very, very big in the near future.
I really enjoy watching his work. Like I actually do. Like I enjoy sitting. Like I watched he had a match at AWS against Gibbs, and I thought where he wrestled as a baby face, and it's like I feel like he's one of those very few guys that can be in Australian wrestling that can be in that tweener type of role and do it well.
Yeah. Oh no, 100%. No, I think that was the last show. I've watched a couple of his recent matches because we had a match not too long ago. But he is so easy to work with. He is just, as I said, very, very underappreciated, I guess, for what the amount of talent he has got. But then again, like I don't think sometimes like people know how good he is because he is pretty much in every main event of every promotion he's on right now.
Yeah.
He main events AWS. I think he's main eventing the next one. He main evented Go. I'm pretty sure he's now their champion. I could be wrong. He main events EWA. Like he also main events Rock and Roll. It's there's no surprise there. I just really hope he starts venturing out elsewhere and people start realizing how good he is. And
I mean, well, he's getting booked everywhere. Like, so what do you think, from your opinion? You've been in the business 10 years. What do you think is holding someone like Otis from being noticed?
Look, nothing really. Like, probably the hardest thing, I guess, even for myself to a degree, is the guy outside of wrestling. The guy works, I think, 6 days to 7 days a week. He is nonstop. He's a very, very hard worker. In terms of his job, he has a lot of time for family. He comes and trains our wrestling school as well throughout the weeks during those little times. I think sometimes it's just hard, probably for him to be like, well, I'm about to go and do, a 12-hour shift somewhere. Do I really want to get up and, and he has been, but do I really want to get up and go, work, different places, especially for like further away. But look, nothing really holding him back. I know that he has got a couple of opportunities coming up, I believe. So I'm looking forward to them. Just look, man. The same with what I don't know if you've been talking to Morgan Rose, or just even following him, but he is everywhere right now, and not just in Australia. But he is fucking going He's like, oh, I'm wrestling in Malaysia next week. I'm like, didn't even know Malaysian wrestling was a thing, even though I wrestled the Malaysian Tiger. Like, it's just.
I put Morgan over a while back, and I was just saying, like, that I think it was a show in December. Me and Sarge were sitting together, and we watched the show. It was him versus Lockie, Trady, sorry, and and just, man, like, those two guys tore the house down. Like, it was like, he is so talented. Like, Morgan, another guy who was just so talented. It was just one of those guys, which is just so, one of the underrated guys.
Worker in the room. He really is. And we were talking the other day just about his current like whereabouts, because he was just asking for upcoming, rock and roll dates and whatever. And he was telling me, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm down in Perth. And then after Perth, I'm flying straight out to Korea. And then after Korea, I'm going to Malaysia, off to Singapore, back into Brisbane. Then I'll come to rock and roll. And then, do you mind if I leave early? Because tomorrow I've got a 6 a.m. flight to go to Melbourne. And he's
chasing it, bro. He's chasing the.
Oh, 100%. And kudos to him. And he has been trying for a long time to do something like this, and he's finally found the time and saved up to pursue it. And man, he is an unbelievable worker. Like, to be in the ring with him, and even backstage, like, and you saw all the hard work he was doing backstage too. He has so many roles, and he doesn't just do that for rock and roll. He does it for everywhere. If he thinks that someone needs to cut a promo for, another, like, Wrestling Go, I think the last time he was there, and he's like, all right, guys, you need to do this, and let's pump out some promos. And he is just trying to get everyone and everything to a better place. And it's never about him.
Absolutely.
I have been trying to twist his arm for years to do something big with him at rock and roll. Oh yeah, but first I want to put this person over, and then I want to do this, and then after they've had their spotlight, let's, maybe we can do something with me. And he is just, and he would be doing that, I guarantee you, everywhere he's going.
And that's the thing, man. Like, he's got the potential to be a main event player.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he should be at the moment.
100%.
I think him and Otis as well. Like, I've seen those guys have matches. I've seen them tag together. I think that is like a match that could go to any promotion and it would be over. They've had it so many times. Add you into the mix as well, make it a triple threat.
To be a training.
Exactly. And so it's all connected to the three-way.
Run international, then I'll roll out, and they can do whatever else they want.
High spot, take it home.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Lucha. Pretty sure Otis has appeared in Lucha shows.
Yeah, I think I've did a Lucha show with Otis.
I remember I only did one ever show at that Lucha. It was up in Penrith. It was a restaurant.
Yo Loco.
Oh yeah, and I didn't have a mask, or I didn't have anything, and Otis was there. He's like, I'll just take this. And I was wrestling someone. Forget who it was. But anyways, there's no Lucha blood in me, mate, or any high spots, and I just wrestled I think I called myself El Generico,
Oh God.
and it was just
Fuck.
it was just it was just that, and it just the match came back. Anyways, the guy that owned the restaurant afterwards, he came up to me and I don't know who was running it that night. It might have been Sammy from AWE. Sammy might have been running it. And he's like, that fucking guy in the red mask, I hope I never fucking see him again, eh? I was like, that was me, mate.
Oh,
And I was like, oh. And he's like, oh. I was like,
the last time I went out there, right? So I went out to a show and like left work, went home, showered, grabbed the suit, chucked it in the bag in the car, drove from Engadine to Penrith, which is easily a 90
lovely,
90-minute drive. Get there, I'm like, there's no production truck, there's no ring truck. What the fuck is going on? So I'm like, I'm just gonna leave my shit in the car, get out, I go walk in, open the door, there's this big inflatable jumping castle where the ring is supposed to be. I'm like, okay, go there. I'm like, no messages. Then I go to the group page and shit, and then it's like see a thing where AKL was running it saying, hey guys, the show was cancelled, and it was like from last night, and I just hadn't been on Facebook and didn't get a notification for it. And then I ended up commenting on it going, wish I checked Facebook before I left home and drove 90 minutes. Thanks, Alex. He rang me, so I'm so sorry, man. I'm like, it's all good.
That's funny. Oh, yeah. Not for your petrol bill, obviously, but fuck. Yeah, look, I only wrestled there once, and I thought it was a very cool setup. But I guess the only issue with it was they were trying to. I guess the reason it kept failing, I guess, was they kept trying to pump really high priced tickets up to families that are also going in there to buy food, drinks. I'm pretty sure the play area you had to pay to get the kids in. I could be wrong, but there were certain parts of it that you could. Yeah, and I was like, fuck. So the poor parents are going to fork out $200+ for a night of wrestling and food. I'm like, not many people are going to do that, man. Like, and like they had
some of the shows had a decent crowd there, but they weren't into it, bro. Like I appeared on like maybe I think 2, maybe 3 shows there in total, and it was like the crowd was just not into it.
I went there, yeah. It was a pretty decent turnout for the one I went to, but I just remember talking to the guy. This is the owner afterwards, because he was like, "Oh, maybe we need to up the prices," and I think the prices at the moment were like $30 a ticket. And I was just thinking, like, man, you got a restaurant, you got such a good setup. Why don't you just like for the first few shows at least to get a reputation out there? Because he wanted to run a full on promotion there. I'm like, to get your rep out, why don't you just chuck a family of 4 for like $60 and you chuck in a few nachos and drinks or whatever? Like
100%.
Like do something simple to get and be like, oh, food and drinks included. Get the kids on soft drinks. They'll get hyper. They'll go around the ring, couple of matches, and boom, you're done. But alas, it wasn't meant to be. So
100%, man. It's everyone thinks they're Vince McMahon, bro. Everyone.
That is true.
Oh man, that was a couple of comments that guy made in front of me, and I was just like, right, I'm going over here now. He was like, yeah, no, like he was telling the wrestler, he's like, yeah, just climb on top of that and do a flippy thing off it down there. And I'm just like, what the fuck are you telling this kid to do?
I did hear that he was trying to book the matches. Someone whispered it in my ear. There was something along the lines he wanted to tell the wrestlers what to do.
Yeah, me and Gibbs were there standing there, and he came over. He's like, no, I really get wrestling, And Gibbs is like, how long you been in the business? Oh, I've watched wrestling since the 80s. Yeah, and Gibbs just looks at me and goes,
man, he gets it. He gets it. Man, no, that's funny. Yeah, no, like I said, the only interaction I really had with him was, oh, that guy in that red mask. I hope he's not back. And I'm like, I probably won't, mate. But neither will most of your audience, so it's okay.
Jeez, bro. Talking about like, I love the only heat that you throw is at the fucking restaurant out in Penrith.
Oh, and you know what? There probably isn't any heat about it because it made a very good burrito. I remember sitting there. I was like, "Fuck, the food here is very nice." But yeah. Does anyone run it anymore? Does anyone?
No,
Still
there's no wrestling, bro. It just it fizzled out.
Yeah, like I said, unreal venue and tons of potential. Just it is what it is. But he's probably off making more money doing something else now. So yeah,
I heard he was like the guy that bought that, like, what's that jumping place gimmick, like the
on
trampoline,
Inflatable World or something like that. Yeah,
not inflatable world, like it's like a jump. I don't know. It's like they got trampolines and shit, Jump World or some shit like that. Like he bought that to
like
Australia.
flip out or something.
Flip out. That's the one. Yeah, like that's what I heard. That like
Yeah,
I heard that through a wrestling crowd, bro. So like half of what you hear, none of what you see. Half of what you see, none of what you hear. Sorry, got that around the wrong way. It's Friday evening, man. Don't throw too much at me.
As long as he's making money, that's the thing, and that's like going back to wrestling is like it's all about. I think the one thing that I've learned above all else is you got to treat it like a business, and it is about making money. So when if I come out of a show and I've only made a couple of I usually try and tag it at $100 because that's pretty good for an Australian wrestling show. I feel like if a wrestler can walk away with $100, your wrestlers are only usually getting paid 50 or something along those lines. And it's like, well, if you can sell 2 t-shirts and come home with something, that's all it's about. But just I think the hardest thing looking around, and not many people are doing it, I guess in wrestling, as I mentioned earlier, was making those connections for people to come in and want to buy your stuff or your products.
Yeah.
Like as I said there, I don't know if you saw them, but I had a group of like 8 or 10 people who are just from outside of wrestling. That so I'll count them as friends.
Sure.
They bought all of my t-shirts that night.
I remember seeing the photo, yeah.
And I was like, wow. And then I've got, I've made a few more connections with, the supplement people and whatever. She sends me a photo and tags me in it one day, and she's just like, "Oh, I'm wearing your shirt to work," or "I'm wearing the rock and roll shirt to work." And I'm like, it's really, really cool. And that's just, it's all what it's about, really. Yeah. It's just to keep growing that brand and trying to make as much coin as you can.
100%, bro. But like, unfortunately, a lot of people have the motto, I'm not here to make money. I'm here to make friends.
That is true.
You know what I mean? And that's where,
you know what, you can do both. You can do both. I've made some incredible friends through wrestling.
Yeah,
I really have. Like, there's obviously yourself. I've got, I've got Lee. I've got everyone at Rock and Roll.
Yeah.
And then everywhere I've worked, there's no quarrels with anyone at all, and everyone I seem to come in touch with is very, very decent people, and they want obviously want the best for themselves, but don't we all? And we're just all doing it together and trying to build something for ourselves and the promotion that we're working at the time, and
100% real.
It's all that's all what it's about, really. So
exactly, it's about finding your place and carving out a small piece of it, and having some fun, and but like I feel like there is that certain like element in the scene where there is that certain level of arrogance from some people, and it's like that's where like I don't particularly get it, and I've never been a fan of people making fun of people that are a little bit different than you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to not say the right thing here.
No.
And that's where like I have seen stuff like that in the wrestling business. I've stood up, I've said things to people saying, "Hey, like, nah, that's not cool." Because like, you know what I mean? Like I feel like for the most part, there's a lot of really cool people in wrestling. I've met a lot of close friends, people I consider friends for life. So I definitely understand there's a lot of closeness of it, but I don't understand that one small element of it. And that's one thing it really sort of it just gets me, man, because when I look at wrestling and it's like, and the people that certain people would have digs at or whatever, it's like, man, that this person probably has the same mental disability that your friend has that you're not making fun of. Like,
it's yeah, I guess you get that in all facets of life though, like not just wrestling.
course.
Like I guess the thing with me is my background working with people with disabilities, and then even before that, I was a teacher. I guess I've learnt not to tone it out as much, but I guess I've learned what to say and what not to say in different situations. Personally, I actually have not come across any of it yet, apart from there was a couple of shows when I was very, very early on, that there was a group of people in backstage, I mean, making fun of a certain wrestler or their appearance, or and it's one of those things you look at and you're like, okay, well, maybe what they're saying is true, to a certain extent, but I'm like, you don't need to be like that. We're all here for the same reason.
Yeah.
We're just here to have a bit of fun, make some money, and do what we do, out of the love for it. But yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. I'm just lucky, I guess. I've never had that situation or put myself in that situation where anything like that happened. The only time that I guess, and I wouldn't even say I defended someone, or I guess I did, but there was a time I stood up for a wrestler that I thought wasn't getting as treated fairly as he should be. And I just said to him, and I even said it to the promoter as well, I'm like, hey, look, I'm happy to work with him. That means everyone should be happy to work with him. And he's a very good person. He drives here just as long as everyone else, has to get his way home. You just need to treat him fairly. And it's, and then that was it. They were like, oh, okay, no worries. Sorry, and they probably didn't even realize they were doing the wrong thing. And the guy that I sort of stood up for, he didn't even realize it. So he was like under the impression, oh, I'm not, I was putting, the example I'll give you is he was putting pre-show matches, basically where there was no fans and he wasn't expected, like there was no expectation of being paid, and there was no sort of expectation of future bookings and whatever. And after like the second or third show, I just went to him, the wrestler that is, and I was like, look, man, you could be doing so much better. And he's like, oh yeah, no, I know, I understand. And, thank you. And then, yeah, the next show he was on it and he was working like a decent match on the show, and like all is good in the world. But what I think, luckily, at least, I guess a lot of people probably would have seen that situation and been like, oh, fuck this guy, like he's treating his wrestlers unfairly and blah, 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 and would have caused a fuss about it. But where I just was like, oh, look, is there any reason why this is happening? And they're like, and the guy didn't even sort of take note because there were so many other things, to do with the show, I guess.
Sure.
So I was like, fair, all good, no worries, and life's good again. So, but listen, everyone that I've sort of come across has been very inclusive, very, I guess knowledgeable in like the sort of times we live in as well.
Yeah.
Being very respectful of others, and look, and this is going to sound really corny, but if you don't have something nice to say, don't say it at all. And it's something that, Luke and I guess all of us down at Rock and Roll, use as well. There could be, I don't know if there's anyone that's had, problems at Rock and Roll or
no.
whatever.
Yeah. I've never heard anyone say a negative thing about it.
And it's, and that's the thing. But if there is anything, if there's someone that's upset or whatever, they can always come and reach out. And I believe 100% someone's probably reached out to Luke in his 15 years of being a promoter and been like, oh, can we do this better? Or I'm not feeling this or whatever, and he would have 100% have taken that on board and been like, no worries, we'll change it all. Let's go down a different path. But
let's look at doing something different at least, or having a different mindset for it. And that's exactly what I said. It's when I went in there, it was very welcoming, very open, very friendly. And again, it's like it was a show that I'd probably with a roster of people that I'd had done shows with some people before, but not everybody before. So it wasn't like I knew everybody coming in as well, but it was like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like going and doing a show with all my mates or like going and doing a show with no one. It was kind of like that in between thing. It was just like everyone was just the people I didn't know were just very welcoming, very friendly. And it's a cool spot, man, that you guys have got there. And we got a show coming up on the 27th of this month.
Certainly do, yeah. The return to Campbelltown. We haven't been there since we brought Emma and I think Carlito out. So it's going back 4 years now. So yeah, pretty pumped for that. Should be good. Should be
100%, man. I'm looking for my second. Looking forward to my second show in charge. Calling the shots down there.
Yes, no, very good. And thank you for thank you for being in charge of the Academy show as well. When you announced the Lee Moreau was facing Morgan Rose, they tore it up again at the Academy. That was good.
I did. I was watching from my office at the Bird's Eye.
From Gorilla.
Oh no, I was in the corporate box. Well,
geez, I don't know how nice it would be.
Yeah, the corporate academy box. Hey man, look, there was a nice warm Sprite there and a half-eaten hot dog, bro. Like it was very relaxing, So
wrestlers trying to scoot out to their matches when people are trying to snudge by to go to the loo. It's always good. Oh, mum, that's the guy that he's going to come out and wrestle soon. It's like, I know, trying to get parts. I love the Academy shows. They're probably one of my favorite shows, to tell you the truth. They're so snug. We always pack it out. We can only sort of cap it in at 120, 120 people. But man, it's something so much like just a lot of atmosphere and just fun at those shows. Yeah. And they're genuine shows. You know what I mean? That's why I'm really excited about. I'm going down to Slam as well in a couple of weeks just to do one of their Academy shows. And I'm like, man, I've watched a couple of I've obviously watched their bigger shows, but even those little ones, man, I'm like, man, they pack them in and it's just a burst of energy in that room. And it's like,
well, that's the thing, bro, about that community, Canberra, another place.
Mate, how many more sponsors can those guys get? Let's be honest. Like every time I refresh my page, it's like a new sponsor has popped up for Slam Pro Wrestling. I'm like, how many small businesses can one place get? But oh man, like as I said, community and making those connections. And I guarantee you that those sponsors are coming out because you got your guys that like I guess Watts, probably Archer as well. All of those guys that are locals are going to those people and making those connections, and it's working for them. Like that big show that they did at the convention center was unreal.
Yeah, I heard that. Like that was like what, nearly 1,000 people?
It was over 1,000. It's close to. I'm pretty sure it was close to 2,000.
Dude, when you can draw, like when people draw that in Australian wrestling, bro, that's fucking crazy.
And without internationals as well, it just goes to show. Like, it's probably my first time I've actually never sat down and watched Australian wrestling apart from rock and roll live. Like that is, I usually go back. I go back and nitpick. Obviously, to now that I'm sort of helping with like booking and that's how I found a couple of the guys at PWA and other places like Vega and whatever. I actually sat down live. I'm like, man, this is going on. I'm going to watch it, and man, it was I just tore it up. Absolutely tore it up. Every match was just top notch, and you can tell it's going good when you can actually hear the audience coming out of the cameras. Sometimes you can't hear the audience when you watch back your shows, and that it was blasting. And I'm like, that is very cool, especially when Slamu came out. He was my favorite.
I've seen the photo. I've seen the photos of that. That was pretty.
I had to pause it, and I took a photo and I sent it all around. And I said, "Who is this guy?" And I knew Otis was a lucha wrestler, but Jesus, he looked good that night.
Oh.
But
Hey,
no, I
man.
just took a photo. I was like, this guy, I said, he needs to be my world champion by the end of the year. He just had me in stitches. But again, he's like, just all of them, man, just so good. So good.
Can't disagree with you, man. But where can people get tickets to the show on the 27th?
Oh, rockandrollwrestling.com.au is where you can grab all of our tickets. And then just, follow the prompts on that one. And just follow Rock and Roll, I guess, on Facebook, Instagram, and we are also on Twitter, even though I think Twitter is a dying breed at the moment.
Yeah. I get very little impact, like anything from Twitter.
I only use it because we've got we've got a heap of people following us. Like we've got Ryback following us, Von Erichs, couple of like some of the WWE guys that I'm just I guess we've built connections with over the years, and I'm like, do I really want to get rid of it? Because like even the other day, Ryback liked one of the posters, and I was like, man, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, I've got it, and I'm the same thing. Like I'm followed by some cool people, and I'm like, like I just keep it. I keep posting. Like when I do my social media for this shit, I'm just like, copy paste done. Like tag, do it. Like you get into that mindset, bro. But man, like everyone who's watching, tuning in, listening, click the link in description for tickets to Rock and Roll. I'm going to make sure that that's listed when this podcast gets released. Make sure you go and check out Rock and Roll, guys. It is a phenomenal show. I will be appearing in some form on the show on the 27th. So if you want to come and check out me and see me like being a fucking, suave, debonair, like
greatest general manager in Australian history.
Hey, there you go, bro. The greatest podcaster in the world and the greatest general manager in Australian wrestling history. But man, bro, thank you for coming on, bro. This hour has just sort of flown by.
It has. It's been awesome. Thank you so much. Oh, we got to do it again, but I think the Australian Freebird needs to join us, and possibly even the other Freebird, Philip Picasso.
Oh, dude.
I've been saying to them for years, I said, if you ever come back, the Australian Freebirds have got to fly.
I'm all for it. It has to be done, bro. Like it has to be done. We'll have a meeting after this podcast, but everyone make sure you go and get tickets to Rock and Roll. Make sure you check it out. Make sure you go and follow Bachelor on all social media platforms. But until next time, this has been True Story, the greatest podcast in the world. Till next time, take care. All the best. Mwah. Peace out, bitch ass motherfuckers. Break it down like this. And I was like, really? Like, babyface? And the heels were going on. Dude, I thought he broke his neck. The greatest podcast.